Hello everyone, welcome to the stock specific class here for Thursday, January the 14th. There's not going to be too much to add from what I discussed yesterday in the market update, except to say that we did move forward again today, which is what we talked about, the way the chart was looking. Looks like we could move up today and possibly even up tomorrow, but we are getting really extremely overbought, and I'm going to show you a couple things here that I didn't show you yesterday that we can take a look at. And so it makes me really concerned for next week. I would imagine if the market's going to pull back, it'll be sometime next week, and I don't know how big it will be. I don't see a major correction happening just yet. At least that's not. Usually you'll get some pretty big warning signs for that, but like I said yesterday, it could be just something that kind of a pullback like we had in September and later in October as well. So, and I'll show you those. If you didn't see those yesterday, I'll show you those here when we look at the S&P 500 chart. As far as the direction alerts, there is a change. The momentum indicator. Excuse me, the momentum indicator is in the extreme area. That I think it was that way yesterday. Breadth is getting very close, but sentiment really spiked up, and I don't know if that's. I have to look at that to see if that's a glitch or if that's truly how it moved that quickly, because it's flashing extreme and it doesn't do that very often. So that concerns me quite a bit. We talked about the buy-sell ratios being pretty wide, so they're showing overbought. We looked at sentiment tab over here yesterday, and it was in that extreme area there. But if you look at, if you go here under the indexes right here, the indexes tab, you can see kind of the breakdown of buys to sells in the different indexes. So for instance, I talked about how the Russell 2000 has been kind of leading the way. It's been the one that outperformed the other indexes. And when you find the leadership, whatever the leadership is, sometimes it's been earlier this year or last year, around this time last year, before we had the big correction, the leadership was the NASDAQ 100. It was the one leading the way, and it was the big cap tech stocks that were leading the way: Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Facebook, all the FANG stocks. They were the ones leading the way. Well, in this latest rally, it's been the small caps, the Russell 2000. So what you look for then is when you don't worry too much about the other indexes, because they're not the leadership. Clearly, the small caps are the leadership. So you really are focusing on that Russell 2000 index, because if it starts to break down, if it starts to show that it's reversing and starting to sell off, then it's the rest of them are likely to sell off as well. You take out the leader. Once the leadership stocks start to roll over, then everything starts to roll over and pull back, and that's when you want to be out of the market, or at least not have as much risk in the market. So I don't see a reversal yet in the Russell. In fact, the Russell's up another over 1% again today. But you're starting to see the ratio of buys right here versus sells. You're starting to see it get up close to 10-1. You start getting into double digits in this, and it's showing that it's extremely overbought. And so, there's still some room. It still could go a little bit further. But I mean, if you look at some of these other small cap indexes, here's the S&P small cap 600 right here. They're at 13-1. So that's really extreme. Now you could look at the other indexes as well. S&P 500 right here is about 4-1. that's usually like a 4 or 5 to 1. That's usually a moderately overbought condition. It's not really extreme. Like I said, you get close to the double digits there, and that's where you really get extreme. And so on the S&P 500, on the Dow, we're about 4 to 1 on that one as well. NASDAQ 100, we're only 2.5 to 1, so that's not bad at all. But like I said, those aren't the leadership right now. Those are lagging right now, and if the Russell starts breaking down, they're going to sell off as well. And so we're going to keep an eye on that. Like I said, and these can change pretty quickly, because when you've been extended like this, let me go back to Russell 2000 here. When you're kind of overextended, or when the market's been trending, and especially the Russell 2000 has been trending higher, the other indexes look a little bit more sideways. We've talked about that before. We can look at it again here when we pull up the charts. But we're sitting here at 9 to 1, 102 sells versus 920 buys. The problem, or what can change, this can change so quickly, because if the Russell's up again tomorrow, there's probably a lot of these sells that are right on the borderline of being holds, meaning they're about to move into that category right there. More of these are right on the borderline to move back to buy. So any up day, you're going to get this. You can get a massive shift of more holds going to buys, more sells going to holds, and it can really spike that ratio up pretty fast, or even more extreme. So that's what I'm saying. I think we're getting here to where if we have another update tomorrow, I really will start to worry about next week, getting some sort of a pullback next week. Let's take a look at real quickly here the charts. I don't want to spend too much time, because we spent a little bit more in depth yesterday on the market update. But see here on the S&P 500, you can see more of the sideways move, and we're up today, but we're up just kind of fractionally, not too much. And then if you look at, there's the Dow, same thing. NASDAQ 100 is kind of lagging. And then you have the Russell, which is it's a 2% move today. So it's you can see up here, it's in all the indexes are in the extreme range, but this one's getting a little bit closer to the right side of that extreme range. And so we got to start paying attention to that. Another thing that worries me a little bit is the VIX. Now, you don't see it too much higher here on the VXY. If you pull up the VIX indicator, remember the VXY is the trading instrument for the VIX. But you can see here that here's where we closed yesterday. On the VIX, we're actually up a little bit, slightly. It's just fractionally, but we do have a situation where the S&P 500 is up, and it's up fractionally, but the VIX is also up. And I told you, if that starts to move in the same direction, we gotta be a little bit worried there. Now, it hasn't moved enough. I wouldn't call that move enough to say, boy, that's really screaming a pullback is imminent. But if we see tomorrow the market up again, and the VIX up, in the market, the S&P 500 is up and the VIX is up, then that's really going to concern me going into the weekend. And one thing to keep in mind too, just as a reminder as well, that the market is closed on Monday for Martin Luther King Day, the 18th. So there's going to be a long weekend, market weekend, so just be aware of that too, so you don't show up Monday ready to trade or something like that, and find that the market's closed. So it's one of the rare times when the market's closed. There's only a few days a year. All right. Let's get into some individual stocks here. Let's go into our sectors. And Ideally we like to find stocks that are in the hold range, going from hold to buy. I'm not seeing as many that I like, and it makes sense when the market starts to get overstretched a little bit, overbought. There's a lot of the stocks already have buy signals, and if you're waiting for it to go from hold to buy, you might not have as many to look at or see, and also patterns too. I like to see a little bit of a consolidation or a breakout, and a lot of these stocks have already broken out and are already kind of running, and so we may not find as many that are in good positions. So that's why it's good to get market pullbacks, because we do get a pullback next week. We'll start to see a ton of these. Before I go any further, too, the trading today, if you want to stick around after I go over the update here, it's just going to be a real basic trading today. I'm going to go over how to build a watch list. I kind of went into this a little bit yesterday in the training, but I'm going to show you how you can use it with the stocks that we go over in the stock specific class, or whatever. Even whenever I do a market update, I usually go over a couple of stocks or so that could be potential trades. I know not everyone's going to be able to trade all of them, but it just gives people that are maybe just tuning in for the first time or something to consider. But I'll show you how you can put some of those in a watch list, and then how you can set up a email alert that'll alert you when those stocks go to buy signals, so that you can kind of simplify the process there. And then I'm going to show you how to use the screener. And the screener, it's right up here. This is something that you may not use very often, because there's automatic screens already set up. There's algorithms are already programmed in here that you can use, the muscle stocks, the power plays, things like that, and smooth sailing. You can just use those automatic scans that have already been programmed. But if you want to play around and use it to find opportunities, I'll show you how you can use it. I'll show you one of my favorite just basic scans to find stocks that are kind of in that sweet spot of where I like to get in. I'll show you that here as part of the training at the end of the class here today. So, all right. So let's go to the retail sector here. I do want to point out, I talked about Kirtland yesterday, and we talked about Jumia. Jumia did go to a buy signal yesterday, so that's why it's no longer on the list here. Kirtland is right here. Let me switch this over to signals. Just went to a buy signal today, so we were waiting for this to trigger. Again, we like that stair-step approach. Moved up, corrected right into here, moved up, corrected. It's gone back to a buy signal right there. So just want to point that one out. Now, why is it still in the hold list? Well, remember, these sector lists get updated overnight. So as long as that remains a buy signal, which it should, as big of a move as it was today, then it will switch over into the buy category tomorrow. We also liked this FTCH right here from yesterday. And I also like the one right below that one, this PDD. It's a 96 strength rank. And so, again, the ideal is we're looking for a 98 strength rank. But, you don't want to just limit yourself to, you don't want to be too, you don't want to get too, what am I trying to say? Too focused on or too specific on your criteria, and especially this way when we get to the screener, you get too specific and you won't find anything, and there's great stocks that you can find, and we found them, as you know, if you've been following this for a while, even dipping down into that 97, 96 strength rank. I usually don't like to go below 90. And even then, I usually don't like to go below 95. But there's also some sectors that they just don't have high strength ranks. And so you have to look at that on a relative basis as well. You go into the construction sector, and the highest stocks under the hold section might be, 85 strength rank or something like that. I'd still take a look at the pattern because the pattern might be there, and it just could be that that they're in a particular sector that doesn't typically have really high strength ranks. I'm trying to think of another one that is like that. I want to say basic materials, maybe, I think, is one that you don't get a lot of high strength ranks sometimes. I think that's one. I might be wrong on that. But all right, so let's take a look at PDD right here. And again, I just like the stair-step fashion of this. Moved up, consolidated through here, moved up through here. Now it's kind of pulled back a little bit. It's kind of pulled back to this breakout area where it broke out before. So it consolidated in through here, broke out. It's come back down, and it's retesting that breakout. Hopefully it's retesting the breakout. Now, again, the reason why we wait for it to go back to the buy signal is that's confirmation. We're waiting for it to kind of prove that it's still in this uptrend and going to resume that uptrend. If it keeps dropping, we don't care because it's going to go from hold to sell. It's not going to give us that buy signal to get in, so we're not in it. I shouldn't say we don't care. I mean, we'd love to have every stock we're looking at to end up working out, but it's not going to affect us because we're not going to be in it yet because we never got the confirmation. So you'd want to be paying attention to this breakout area too. If it does fall, it could fall a little bit further and still kind of get into that area there of that breakout. And what used to be resistance now can be support, now can be the floor. But this is what you can keep an eye on. It has a hold signal right now, and I'll show you in a little bit how you can create a watch list to throw that into a watch list and have it alert you when if it goes back to a buy signal. I like that one. Let's go under computer and technology sector. Under the hold tab right here, hold section right here. And I like this Microvision NVIS has a 99 strength rank. But it's had a nice pullback, and it's looking like it's starting to move up a little bit. It's down a little bit today, but it's had a really nice day yesterday. It's a nice up move yesterday, and here it's kind of a little bit flat there. But I like the burst it made out of this, and then it's pulled back. And I think we might have, I don't know if we went over this one yesterday or not. I might have gone over this last week as well. I've been watching this one for a little while. But that's one that we can put in that watch list that we'll create today. Another one under computer and technology is, I'm going to dip down a little bit further here down to, it's a 96 strength rank, but the CRNC. Now this one has this nice little sideways consolidation right here, and then it also went to a buy signal today. So it's triggering that buy. Now you could, if you wanted a little bit more confirmation on this, particularly, I just got done saying the market's a little stretched, could pull back as soon as next week. You could even just wait to see if this thing can break out. It's close enough there. Because if the market does pull back, maybe this pulls back to the lower part of this range here, and then maybe it works its way back up again, and then it breaks out the next time. Now, again, it really depends on what if you're trading or investing. If you're investing, you're not going to worry about timing it. You're gonna just get in, kind of forget about it or whatever, or take a much longer term approach. But if you're kind of trading it, you might, that's something you could consider, just waiting for that breakout in case it does pull back a little bit if the market pulls back. So that's something to consider there. And then one more from computer and technology. Go down the list a little bit here to right here, Cloudflare. It's a 96 strength rank as well. Let's look at the chart. Very similar to what we saw with that CRNC, that one we just saw before, how it pulled back. It's got coming back up again. Getting close to that breakout area there. This is getting real close to a buy signal. But it still has a hold signal, so this is one we could put in a watch list as well. And again, you've got the nice uptrend here, stair step. Have that stair step. You can also, you drew a line along the lows all the way up through here. You're kind of holding that support area, the uptrend there. You've got an upper range up here. I know they're not real straight lines here, but this stock seems to be kind of staying within that trend range. And so that's a good sign there. Doesn't mean it won't continue. I mean, at some point it'll break it, but when it's acting like an uptrend, those are the stocks you want to focus on instead of trying to guess that stocks are going to go into an uptrend. You like to see that they're already acting that way. At least that's the basis of the trend following approach. All right. And let's do one more sector. Let's look at, I'm going to go down the list here to business services. And then go into the hold section here. Oh, wait, no, it wasn't business services. It was, oh, yeah, it was. Hold on. Business services. And right at the top, it's a 99 strength rate for this FNGR. This is also triggering a buy signal, but again, you see the same structure there. Broke out, pulled back, broke out again, pulled back, starting to move back up again. You draw your trend line of that kind of channel it's in. And it's going, flashing that buy signal right there. Something looks really good too. And that's one, and this one is a 99 strength rate, but like the one we looked at before, had that nice channel there. And so even though it was a 96 strength rank and you prefer to get that 98, when you get a nice trend channel like that, I'd rather trade that. I'd rather trade a 96 strength rank with that nice clear channel than a 98 strength rank where I can't really see a strong trend pattern, And there are some of those out there. They'll flash a high strength rank but not have a real strong trend pattern. And I usually don't like to trade those. All right. So that gives us a list of stocks to consider. Let's first, as part of the training now, let's first just talk about building a watch list and how to go through that process. Again, some of you may already know how to do this or have probably figure it out on your own. It's pretty simple, but for those who are a little bit more technology challenged, I can help you through it here. But what you'll do is first you need to set up your watch list, and then I'll show you how you can add it to the watch list right from the chart. So you go under, click on your watch list tab up here, top. And the first thing you're going to do is you're going to add a tab, and you can create a whole bunch of different tabs. I've got a list of the Dow 30 stocks that I created. So if I want to go through and just look at those 30 of the largest companies in the United States, I can maybe find a trading opportunity there. Got one with FANG stocks. So you can create different sectors or different groups. You can create several of them. So and so the one we'll create here will just be we'll just title it Watch List. So add a tab right here, or you could title it Potential Trades or something like that. And save it. Okay, now you've got it in here. And so now, once you have it set up, now let's go back and go through like we were going through our process here. So under the retail sector here, we like, now Kirtland already went to a buy signal, so we won't use that one, but the PDD right here, we wanted to, that had a hold signal. So let's pull up the chart. You can pull up the chart or you can do it right from the list there, but see, so we like the chart. So then you can go over to, if you want to add it to that watch list, you can go over here and click on this green button right here. Now, if you can't remember which is which, because there's two different buttons there, if you put your mouse over it, it'll say add to watch list. This is add to portfolio. We showed you how to set up your portfolios yesterday in that money management class. If you wanted to review that one, showed you how to use that, how to set up your portfolio. But if you want to add it to a watch list, so we'll click on that green button right here. It'll ask you which watch list. So you click the drop down menu, and we're going to go all the way to the bottom where we created that watch list titled watch list. And then just hit save. And then let's do it on the other ones, and I'm going to show you how to set up an alert on there. So let's go to NVIS under Computer and Technology. Now you don't have to pull up the chart. You could just go right from here, right where that green plus sign is, and I can add that to that watch list. Click save. It'll put it in there. We'll look at the list here in a second, but we're just going to add them in first. Under Computer Technology, let's go to NET was another one there. Cloudflare down here. Add a hold signal still, so we'll click add to watch list. And I think that was it. Oh, I did like from yesterday. I did like under Computer and Technology. I did like that. Oh no, it was not under. It was under retail. This FTCH right here. So we'll add that one as well. All right, so once you get them all set up, then you can go into you click on your watch list tab up here. And find your newly created tab. Here's our newly created watch list tab right there. And it'll have the stocks that we selected. Now, if I want to, again, we're waiting for that confirmation. We're waiting for it to go back to a buy signal. Most of you, it doesn't take very long to kind of check it each day. I could go into my watch list here and just go and look at each one. But if you do want to have it send you an alert, an email alert, you come over here to the far right side, see where it says alert. It's right here, it has a little checkbox there. I can check that and I'll say, okay, how do you want to set up your alert? Well, I want the alert to tell me when it goes from hold to buy, or you could set it up to go from hold to sell, or if you were shorting or something like that. We want hold to buy. We want to have it tell me when that first buy signal triggers, and then click on save. And it'll send an email alert when that goes to a buy signal. Now, a couple things to consider here. First, it's going to send it to the email that you have set up for your account. Okay, so if you You know, if you wanted to set up a special email account, you probably have to change your email in the system and all that to make sure it goes to that special email account. Second, it's real easy. I mentioned this yesterday as well. It's real easy to set up a ton of alerts where you'll start getting pounded with emails triggering all kinds of alerts that you've set up, and alerts that you might have even forgotten about. Because remember, not all these stocks are going to go back to a buy signal. You know, what if PDD starts dropping and you kind of forget about it because it never went to that buy signal, and then it rallies again, and 8 months later it triggers your buy signal. It's going to send you an email unless you go in and cancel it. And so you're going to have to go into your watch list every now and then, especially if you got one like this that these are potential trades. You're not going to be able to trade all of them. Not all of them are going to trigger the buy to get in. So periodically you're going to need to go in there and delete some out. Otherwise it's going to get really, really messy. And it's real easy to do to delete it out. Just click the red X button over here, and it'll delete that out of the watch list there. And you could also use this too to where you set up you'd be moving some of these stocks to your portfolio, right? So let's say we go ahead and get in this trade. I can add it to my portfolio with this blue little plus button right here, and it'll take it out of the watch list there. So you'll be moving it into your trades that you're actually in. But it'll require a little bit of cleaning up periodically. But because you're probably going to have to go in there and clean it up periodically as well, you may not want to set up a ton of these alerts to where you're getting bombarded with email alerts. But it's there in case you like that, in case you want to have that set up for you to just kind of alert you. And this works for people that they're really looking long term. They're not looking to be trading all the time, and so they'll probably have a handful of stocks, 5 or 10 stocks, and so you can set up these alerts to kind of email you when it triggers, so you don't have to keep watching it every day. All right, so that's how you use the watch list there. Now, next thing we're going to look at is the screener. Now, like I said, you go under the muscle stock tab right here. All these different screens right here, muscle stocks, smooth sailing, new buys. They are screen algorithms that have already been designed to look for certain types of stocks. And if you look at the bottom down here, it'll kind of give you it won't give you the exact algorithm because it's proprietary, but it'll show you basically what it's scanning for. Muscle stocks are looking for buy-rated stocks whose price is greater than $3. Strength rank is 98 or higher with an average volume of at least 50,000 shares. Okay. If you want to get in, kind of play around with your own kind of scans, you can go up to the screener here and click on it. Now it's going to pull up the last scan that I pulled up, which was the retail stocks, because all those sector scans they're part of the screener. But if you want to click on the stock screener right here button right next to the search results, it'll bring up the screener tool that you can play with here. So you might have to just kind of remember to find that stock screener tab to pull this criteria box up. Okay. Now, a real basic, and again, a lot of this is just playing around with it. I get asked all the time, what's the best scan out there? There's a magic scan out there that's going to find only stocks that are going to go up, right? And they're always going to go up. That doesn't exist. And so a lot of times you're just kind of playing around with these to just kind of find different criteria. You might be looking for a certain type of stock or a stock in a certain position. Maybe you want to look for some different fundamental things that that might appeal to you. So there's a lot of different categories here that you can choose from. The key to scans though is less is better. If I start checking through all these boxes and giving it a criteria for all these boxes, maybe you'll get lucky and find one stock out of the scan, and that's really not going to help you, because even if you find that one stock, it's still not going to be a perfect stock. What you're trying to do in a scan is you're trying to reduce the volume of stocks you're looking at. And so usually my sweet spot is anywhere from I'd say about 5 to 25 stocks. If I'm only getting 3 or 4 stocks, then I might try to loosen my scan a little bit, and I'll show you what I'm talking about here, to look at more, because I might be missing out on a great stock because my criteria is a little bit too strict. On the other hand, if I go through and I do a couple of these boxes and I get 300 stocks, I don't have time to go through 300 stocks. So I might then add some things to tighten up the criteria a little bit, and I'll show you what I'm talking about as far as that goes, to get me into that kind of sweet spot range of about 5 to 25. So one thing that I like to look for is just a basic scan. Is obviously I'd like to see a stock that's trending up, but I don't like to buy when it's at its high. I like to obviously, as stocks tend to stair step, right? You've seen that now with the stocks we went over today. Even they tend to kind of stair step. So what I like to look for is stocks that are in a longer uptrend, that are pulling back and could be starting that next move. Right in here is where I like to get in, where it might just be starting that next move higher. So what kind of program or what kind of criteria can I select to try to find that? Well, with share price, again, it could be any. If you don't care if it's a 50-cent stock, or you don't mind penny stocks, that's fine. I usually don't like the real cheap stocks because they're usually cheap for a reason, and so I'm going to put a minimum on here of $3. But again, this is something you could play around with. I'm not going to get really too involved in market cap or volume. You could, if those are things I'll add if the list is too big. But then I'm going to come down here, all the way down here, and I'm going to click on signals here. I can look for stocks with buy signals, stocks with sell signals, stocks going from sell to buy, or buy to sell, or you can create whatever you want here. I'm gonna keep it I'm gonna look for stocks that have a current hold signal. Now you could even check, if you do want to get in on that first buy signal after the hold signal, we could look for the first buy signal after a sell signal, or we could do a signal change right here from hold to buy. That'd be more in line with what we're kind of doing for the specific stocks we'll go over in each update. But I'm going to go ahead and just click on hold. I'm going to look for stocks that have the hold, because I might, again, this goes back to the trade management class we went over a week or so ago, maybe it was a couple weeks ago, where you could have an aggressive entry you might want to have in a trade, or you might want to have a little bit more of a confirmation entry, depending on your risk tolerance here. And then I want to look for a stock that has a short-term trend that's changing from down to up. And then I'm going to select a strength rank right here of 95 to 100. Now I can play around with that, but we'll stick to this right now. So the strength rank of 95 to 100 is usually going to mean that I've got a stock that's in a longer term uptrend. If not, I can look for stocks that are in a longer term uptrend, but they have a shorter term trend that's gone from down to up. What is that looking for? It's looking for stocks that are in a longer term uptrend, pulling back as they've had a down short term trend, but it's now gone from down to up. And then they have that higher strength rank. Like I said, I usually don't, with the 95 to 100 strength rank, and in a market condition like this, I usually don't need to add the long-term trends because almost everything's in a long-term uptrend right now. But that's hopefully looking for stocks that are in that stair step, and they look like they're just coming out of a step ready to take off. So let's click on Find Stocks down here, and let's see what it pulls up. Well, I think what's interesting is looking at the list right here is look at a couple of them that pulled up. We went over that one, FNGR. That was one of the ones we had added to our list. Same with NVIS. But you see, out of this list, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 stocks. I'm not going to spend. It's not going to take me forever to go through this, and it sorts them by the highest strength rank to the lower strength rank. So you can start at the top. If you can find some nice stocks, nice patterns, and they're right at the top, then you're set to go. But we can take a look at the chart. Now this one did go to a buy signal. Remember, these things update overnight, so this wouldn't show up on that particular scan tomorrow because it's already gone to a buy signal there. But you can see it has that nice stair step. It's gone from a down short-term trend to an up short-term trend. That's exactly what I'd want to look for, and it's got a 99 strength rank. Let's go back to, obviously we've looked at that one already too. Well, we'll look at it again. NVIS, again, same thing. It's had that nice move up. It's pulled back, and it looks like it's starting to take off again. Let's look at, this is a 98 strength rank, RVP. That's a little erratic for my liking, but that's the thing is we've already found a couple that were kind of nice, so we can skip that one if we want. Let's look at MRNS, 97 strength rank. That's too sideways. It's been moving sideways for a long time there, so I don't know if I like that one that much. That's PIOE. This looks really thinly traded. Yeah, it's on the over-the-counter exchange, which again, it doesn't mean you couldn't trade it, but it's got to be careful with some of these. You might be the only one holding the shares, and you try to get out of it, and it drives the stock price down as you're trying to sell, or jacks it up as you're trying to buy into it because it's so thinly traded. And that's where you could add a volume thing to this, and I can show you how you could do that, or a market cap. Let me just go through the rest of these here, see if I can find another one out of this. This one's really nice right here. TRUP, 95 strength rank. Again, had that nice upward move. Here's a nice consolidation right here. Looks like it's going to start breaking out. Went back to a buy signal right there. Now, if we go back to the screener here, and now from our list right here to get back to the criteria, we've got to click on that stock screener. So just remember it's right here. You want to pull up to change the criteria. You got to click that little button right there, because it gets confusing because you click on the screener there and you're not seeing the criteria. You got to click on it right here too to bring up that criteria box. So I could add volume. I want to look at a minimum of 250,000 average trading volume per day. Let's hit find stocks. It might really reduce our list, though. Well, not too bad. But it did knock out that one that was that thinly traded one that we had looked at before. Now, if you want your list to be a little bit bigger than 2, you could play around with it. One thing we could do is we could really, in this case, the most obvious one would be to just reduce the strength rank a little bit. Let's go down to a 93 strength rank and see what it gives us. It didn't really give us too many more. Square right there, though. I do like that stock. Now, I'm telling you right now, the reason why we're not going to see a lot of stocks that meet this criteria right now, and I mentioned this earlier in the update, it's because the markets are stretched. So I promise you, as soon as we see the market, so here's the Russell 2000. The Russell 2000's right here, okay? As soon as we get a market correction and it pulls back a little bit, and then it starts to move back up again, guess what you're going to find? You're going to find a ton of stocks that are in longer uptrends, went from a short-term trend down to a short-term trend up with a 95 to 90 to 100 strength rank. You're going to have tons of them. In fact, you're going to have so many of them at that point that you're going to have to change your criteria. So what might I add if I get a ton of those? What might I add? Well, you could look for larger companies, a little bit larger companies. You're not dealing with a liquidity issue. You could look for stocks that had a volume increase. 5% over yesterday, or 2% over yesterday, or whatever. You could add that in. You could tighten up your strength rank, get it up closer to 98. So you just kind of play around with it, until it gives you. Let me show you. Let's see that. Well, I don't know if that would work. Well, let's look at it. Let's look at criteria that would give us a lot. Let's look at a long-term uptrend. Really lower the strength rank down. With a short-term trend, current short-term trend that's up, and a hold signal. And let's get rid of the volume box here for just now. It's 120 stocks. Okay. All right, that's too many. So when that happens, then what do? You tighten up your criteria. So that's what I'm saying. You kind of have to play around with it a little bit. Now, if you do find a basic scan that you like, a basic criteria, and since you will be changing these a lot, you might have a core that you like to start with, and then start playing around with it a little bit to tighten it up or loosen it up. Once you find a result that you like, you can save your screen. And that way you could just have your own little one that you create that'll help you find things you want to look for. Anyway, that's kind of how you use the screener tool. And like the best way to do it is just get in there and start playing around with it. That's the best way to learn how to use it. But it does help to try to focus you on the stocks that you really want to focus on, okay, or that you want to. It meets kind of the basic criteria that you look for, and your criteria could obviously be different than mine in many cases. And you might put an emphasis on fundamentals. You might want to look for a certain PE ratio or dividend yield or something like that. All right, that's all I have. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next Tuesday for the next market update and go from there. Bye, everyone.